Hi, it's James. I am now going to talk you through the whole of the methodology so it all sort of fits together for you. So if you want this applying directly to your website, I can do that, but obviously it's going to be in English as I don't speak any other languages, even though the course is in multiple languages. I've actually used AI to actually produce those recordings in your particular language. So if you've completed the course, you'll certainly by now have the keyword research done. You'll understand how we use keywords everywhere. You'll have learned about the paid advertising, how we set the paid advertising up, the SEO, the GPTs that we use. All of that is within the course. So now what I just wanted to do was bring it all together for you in one video so you understand how everything integrates together, and that's the important bit. So I'm going to walk you through now the digital marketing methodology and what I see as a digital marketer. So the website I'm going to be using is this keyword strategy tool. So this is a site that we've never really promoted before, because all of our services at Digital Marketing Groundworks tend to start with the education piece. So we apply our methodology to your website, and then people would obviously decide whether they wanted our paid for service or not. So we've then come up with the course, which is obviously a do-it-yourself version, and so hence hopefully you see the difference. So this site's never been promoted, and that's why I'm using it as the example. So, and we still don't really promote this page or this actual website, because the idea is you have the course, you sign up to the tool, and you don't ever actually need to Google keyword research tool, if that makes sense. So first thing I do as a digital marketer is come to the website, and what I'm looking for here is anything obvious that is going to put a customer off. Okay, because websites generally speaking are subjective, so what you like, I don't like. You like the colours, I don't like the colours, and so on and so on. So I'm looking for obvious errors like typos, so that's spelling errors, and also anything that is maybe images missing, anything obvious. I'm also having a quick look at the menus to see what services you actually offer from those menus. If you've got a lot of products and services, I would hope to see things like maybe a mega menu where the customer can get to where they want to as quickly as possible. So that's always a consideration. So the next thing I would do is I'd go onto a free site called Built With. Again, this can be in any language. At the top, you'll see the little languages there. All you need to do is just put in your domain name in here, like that, paste and look up, and then that will tell you, you'll see your domain name across the top here. This gives you a rundown of profile of the technology you're using on your website. So not only is this a good thing for your website, but it's also a good thing for maybe looking at competitors. So for example, you might be looking at a competitor and find a plugin maybe that they're using that you're not using. And so you're looking for ideas on what software they're using, that type of thing. So as you look down this list, it just gives you a good outline. You can see here that we've got Yoast plugin, which immediately tells you that it's a WordPress website, and it gives you a list of all the plugins I'm using, and whether I've got a content delivery network, I'm using YouTube, etc., etc. So it's a good idea just to have a look at that. So you can also see the servers I'm using, which are A2 servers. So here, hosting service, as you see. So next thing I need to do, once I know what platform I'm going to be working on, so I know it's a WordPress website now, I go to the next free site, which is called GT Matrix. So if you sign up for a free account, you can actually choose where the test server is located. So in this case, obviously, I'm going to choose the UK in London because I'm based here in the UK. So the first thing I look at is this letter here. So I would expect this to be the letter D, with A being the best. So this letter represents the performance of the website, and the structure makes up what letter this will be. So we want it to be as close to A as possible. So E is particularly bad, and we need to improve that. And in this case, it's the performance of the website that is letting us down. The structure, 82%, is okay. But you'll also notice this text here, which is called Web Vitals. So this is Web Core Vitals, and it's a part of the Google algorithm. So what I'm looking for here is this load time of the website to ideally be in milliseconds, not seconds. So 7.6 seconds, way too slow. Okay, so we need to speed the site up. So this GTmetrix platform will give you lots and lots of information. I'm just going to show you today exactly what it is that I'm looking for. Okay, so a quick overview if you like. So if you look above, go down to this section here, just go back to our website. This is what's called above the fold content. This is below the fold. Okay, so what this is doing is that it's giving you a visualization of above the fold content. So you can see the load time. So altogether you can see where we get this 7.6 seconds from, and obviously we would want that a lot quicker. Now there's 4 areas that generally speaking websites have problems with. So number 1 is images. So you can see here we've got an image problem that's slowing those pages down. So ideally we need to optimize the images so that they load and are delivered to the customer as quickly as possible. The second one is videos. So people like to put videos on their website, and that's fine. What you've got to do is not upload a video into your files. Okay, what you need to do is open up a Vimeo or a YouTube account and then upload the videos to one of those platforms or something similar, and then what you need to do is embed the video on your site. So when it plays, it actually plays on their site and not yours. That's going to speed up the website. So the other 2 aspects of things that go wrong with your website in terms of technical tend to be JavaScript and CSS files. So if you can imagine a WordPress website, usually people would use maybe a theme, and it might have, let's just for simplicity, we'll say it's got 100 different options on it, but you're only using 50. So clearly the code is still in there that's going to accommodate both the 50 you're using and the 50 you're not using. So what we can do is we can strip out the JavaScript that we're not using, which again is going to speed up our website. And then we've got what's called CSS files. So these are things like what fonts you're using maybe, your H headings, all that type of thing is in there. So what we need to do is, ideally, we need to optimize our server so it runs as quickly as possible. So I would say to you at the moment, this is one of the first things you do, but there is no point in optimizing your server until you've actually done your optimization work on your website, because clearly you're going to do the work and then that's going to affect the server. So you upload some more images, it could affect, for example, the number of images that need more optimization. So at this point, at the beginning, all we're doing is we're checking to see where we're actually starting from, if you like. Then what we're going to do is, once we've done all the work and we're happy with it, then we're going to optimize the server. Okay, so that usually is a technical person and usually takes maybe a couple of hours just to get rid of all that excess code that you don't actually need. So that's a technical job, and you will need somebody technical to be able to do that for you. So that's GT Matrix. This would be done probably revisit every sort of maybe 6 months, and then re-optimize the server, because every time you make changes on your website, this is going to be affected by it. So let's get rid of that. So now we're on to the more exciting thing for me, which is obviously the digital marketing, and that's what we're here for. So the logic digital marketing is what you've been running through the course, and they are the tasks that you've been completing as part of a proven data-driven digital marketing strategy. So I'm going to treat it like you know absolutely nothing, so forgive me for that. I'm hoping I can fill in gaps that maybe you didn't quite understand or something like that. So this here is called the search engine results page. So if you're a digital marketer or someone in the know, you may hear them call it SERPs. Okay, so it stands for Search Engine Results Pages. And you'll recognize it because this is where, at the top here, this is where you put your query or your question, whatever it is you're looking for, this is where you would put that. Okay, and what would happen is you would then get the answers in the form of one of these. So here, this is called, technically it's called a snippet. So I refer to these as adverts to the world because that's what they are. They are adverts. You're trying to attract somebody to actually click those links. So these snippets, these adverts to the world, are really, really important to your optimization, which we'll be covering in the course a little bit later. So the first thing I'm going to be looking at is I'm going to put in here at the top, I'm going to put in site : space, then the website address. Yeah, and what that's going to do is it's going to bring in 2010 search results here. So what this is looking at is it's looking at all your pages, but it's also looking at anyone's doing something similar. If you've got an article in a magazine or something like that, that's probably going to be in here. If you've got any sort of social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, that's all going to be in here. What we want to be able to see is just your pages, because as a digital marketer, we're actually going to be working just on your pages. So at the top here, we're going to put site : and then remove the space, and then press return, and that 2010 has now gone down to 117, which tells me I have 117 pages currently listing on Google, and this is what those pages actually look like. So the next thing I need to do is I need to look at what's called the permalink and the slug. You can find that under here it starts with a HTTPS, so you're looking for that S to make sure that you've got an SSL certificate. This is a secure 128-bit encryption. It's very unlikely you're going to get a listing on Google if you do not have that secure socket layer, this S on the end. So you should read HTTPS, yeah, and then your .co.uk, your .com, .net, whatever it is. That bit there is actually called a permalink. You can't change it. It's solid. It is what it is. You've then got, in this case, we've got SEO services. So that's this highlighted section here. I don't think I could actually highlight it without it actually clicking through. Oh, yeah, I can. There you go. There's the permalink, and there's the slug, what's called a slug. So in this case, the slug is called SEO services. So I'm looking down the list, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to see how what that keyword says and how close it is to what we're actually offering. So if I can give you an example of maybe something you would want to avoid, you might want to, something like maybe blog. Everyone has a blog. Yeah, if it had /contact, Everyone has a contact, so it's contact who. If the word was training, yeah, I would say that that's really broad. And the reason I think that is because you're competing with everyone who does any kind of training. So at one end of the scale, are you offering Microsoft 365? Or at the other end of the scale, are you training rabbits to jump through hoops? So what we need to do is have the slug focused on the product or service that we're actually offering. The next thing we're going to look at is this line here. So this is a page title, which may sound really obvious, yeah, but you also get an SEO title. Okay, so if you go to if you watch my screen, top left-hand corner, you can see my mouse going up above the tab of my website, and you can see that little label come down here. That is called the SEO title. So SEO title, and this here is the page title. So both of those have a character allowance of 65 to 70 characters. So we've got to say what we want to say within the character spacing allowed. Okay, so there's a couple of things that quite often go wrong with the titles. So the first one is if you constantly, let's say you build a website and you named it something, then quite often that name will automatically attach itself to each of the titles. So a brand strategy is not going to work here. Okay, so when I went to, say, Johnson & Johnson quite a few years back, had this conversation with the CMO at the time, and he was quite adamant that he wanted the words Johnson & Johnson in the title. But of course it takes up over half of the character allowance of the 65 to 70 characters. And I was trying to say to him, look, if somebody types in your brand and they know your brand, if they type it in, your website will come up anyway. What we need to focus on is what people are actually going to be typing in to the bar at the top here. So in this case, if we were looking for, say, Johnson & Johnson baby lotion, I could go to the Johnson & Johnson website, type in baby lotion and get what I wanted, or I could go to a search engine and type in Johnson & Johnson baby lotion. The issue there is that 99% of the population are not interested in Johnson & Johnson. They're interested in the product, which is the baby lotion, and that's what 99% of the population are going to type in the top. So we need to optimize for the product or service that somebody is actually looking for. So the other thing that we need to remember is if we go over the prescribed 65 to 70 characters, you're going to get this. If you see on the top line here, on this one here, you can see at the end we've got this ... So this is where Google has cut me off. So in the course I talk about level 1 SEO, level 2 SEO. So level 1 is to put the data in, and then level 2 is to adjust the data accordingly. So you'll know all that from the course material anyway. So the next thing we need to think about is what exactly we need to put in these titles in order to attract the right customer. So there's two things 100% we need to do. So the first is absolutely critical to your business, and that is ultimately keyword research. We need to know every keyword for the product or service you're offering, and so from whatever country it is you're doing the research in. We then need to think of a proposition. So we need the keyword, then we need the proposition. So what is it that is going to benefit that customer? Yeah, something that we can offer that nobody else is offering. Okay, so that's going to be what we're going to be talking about in a minute, which is the keyword research. So the next thing on this snippet, this advert to the word that I'm looking at, is this text here. So this text here is actually known as a meta description, and it's 150 to 160 characters. And again, If you go over the prescribed limit, like I have here, you can see where you've got this ... That's where you've gone over the limit, and you need to then do cut back when you're doing your level 2 optimization. Okay, so that's basically a quick overview of what we're trying to achieve in terms of free traffic, and that's organic traffic, obviously. So the very first thing that we need to do is the keyword research in order to get this line straight with the correct keyword, and here with a proposition. Okay, so what is the proposition? What is unique? What is going to make somebody click on that particular link?